So we just got done talking about contracts, and now today we're going to talk about creating your own function. Okay? One of the great things about CS Algebra is that every kid learns how to do a thing called unit testing. And unit testing is essentially checking to see if your function works before you use the function. There's nothing more frustrating than thinking that a function works, putting it into code, and just hoping and praying that it gets done. That's one of the reasons why Scratch isn't my favorite thing in the world, because you can just kind of put things together and keep on guessing and testing. The design recipe and using unit testing, you know for sure that your function works. That makes sense to everybody? Okay, so today we're going to do just a quick overview of the three parts of the design recipe and creating your own function. And then we're going to spend the next couple of days hitting all three parts, the contract, the examples, and the definition, and kind of get in there in deep a little bit more, okay? So, first part of the design recipe, this is how we set up the entire function itself. We have to give it a name, we have to know what it takes in, and name what it's going to take in, and then we have to know what it's going to produce, okay? So probably the most common one that you guys have seen is called Aqua Star. It's kind of the first time that you actually create your own function. Some of you already passed that point, some of you aren't, okay? Now, when they ask you to name a function in CS Algebra, you have to name it exactly the way it looks. And some of you struggle with this because you didn't write it as AQUA dash star with no spaces and no caps. Okay? So that's the first thing. We're going to name this Aqua Star. What happens on the actual function when you name it is boom, just like we learned with contracts, is the name actually appears right there. Boom. We have a name so far. Okay? We don't have anything in the parentheses, and it's just a blank block because we have not set up what Aqua Star takes in. And the purpose of Aqua Star is to make a ton of different Aqua Stars, but we want to change the actual size or the radius of the star. Okay? And just a quick reminder, you know, radius is basically the middle of the object to the furthest most point. That's what the radius is. Obviously, the bigger the radius, the bigger the star. The smaller the radius, the smaller the star. Okay? And that's what we want to take in. So we want to take in, it's called a number. And that number is going to be specifically named radius. When we do that, on our actual function, a parenthesis will now show up, and it's called radius. And then we have a space right in here, and this is actually blue because it takes in a number. Everybody okay with that? Now, one of the most challenging parts of this is that whenever you create a new function, they all start off as number functions. You have to actually change it. In Aqua Star, we're not producing a number, we're actually producing an image. So we have to go down and change the range so that it says image. Okay? And the minute you do that, your whole, everything in here goes from blue to purple, because our output is going to be an image, a purple image. Well, it's going to be an image. Our function is going to be purple. Okay? Actually, we're going to make an Aqua Star, whatever. We'll get to that. Okay? So that's the first part. You can't do anything down here until you have your contract set up. So here's what you need to know. You need to know what's the name, what's it take in, what's it going to make. Okay? And that's real simple. Name, what it takes in, that's the input, the domain. What it makes or what it produces is the range. Everybody okay with that? Okay. Then, in the examples, we actually we have to do 2 examples every single time. Okay? And this is where we actually get to do our unit testing. This is where we get to see if our function actually works. And this is actually our function. It looks just like the one that I have drawn up there. It will say, and I got to write really tiny, Aqua dash star, and then in parentheses it will say radius, And then we can put in any number that we want right there. And the same thing is going to be true for our second example, aqua dash star, radius, boom, and then we can put in any number right here, okay? So we can call whatever number we want. Let's say that I call 25 here, and let's say I want to make a really big one, so I'm going to call 200. And the nice thing about this, in the examples, you can make whatever size, whatever, you can put in anything you want, okay? You have freedom and flexibility. You want to see a really small one? Boom, you can see a small one once you test it. You want to see a really big one? You can make a really big one. The result is what we want the computer to do with this function, okay? So obviously we want it to make a star, right? So we'll have to actually grab a star function, and I believe star has 3 inputs. It has a radius, and then it has style, and then it has color. I'm going to run out of room here, I think. Okay? So there's actually 3 blocks that need to be put in here. Okay? A number for radius, a string for style, and a string for color. Make sense to everybody? Now, the number that we put in for radius, that's what we want. We're going to send a message to the computer right now. This input goes right here, okay? So this input has to be 25, okay? And obviously we want it to be solid, and we want it to be, if we're making an aqua star, the color better be aqua, right? Okay? Same thing for the next example, except this example right here is going to have 200 in for the radius rather than 25. And so what we look at between the two, and I wish I could just do a copy and paste of the two, okay? But this one's going to be 200, and it's going to be solid, and this one's going to be aqua. And now what we can do is we can say, what is changing between the two of these? And the thing that's changing is the number for radius. Everything else is staying constant. Whatever is staying constant in your definition has to stay the same. So now we have a block here, and it says star again, and it has the same 3 things in here of radius, style, and color. Okay? And we have to be solid, and we have to be aqua. That's not going to change in our function. What is going to change is the radius that we're going to put in here, okay? The minute that we put number for radius down here, there's going to be a block, and because it's a number, it's going to be blue, and it's actually called radius. We have to use this in our definition. Whatever we name in our domain, we have to use down here in our definition. Otherwise, we cannot test it. And so what we want to be able to do, our end goal is to be able to put in any number for the radius. That's what this stands for. So we actually click on this block, and we bring it right in here, and it should say radius. And so what that means is whatever number we call in our function automatically goes right there, okay? And that's how we can test it. We can test these two to make sure they work, and you'll actually be able to see the different aqua stars. Then we actually close it, and we go into the real function itself. Then we can put in whatever number that they're asking. Test your function using, and I think it's 125 for this one, I can't remember exactly. But you put in 125, and boom, it makes a 125 radius aqua star. All right? Now, kids, I know that's a lot of information. We will eventually, I believe tomorrow, we'll go over just the contract. Then on Friday, we'll go over just the examples. And then on Tuesday, when we get back, we'll go over just the definition. Okay? And then we'll do a worksheet, and then we'll do a quiz. And then we will create a ton of different functions after that. All right? All right, we can go back. You guys have the rest of the time.